Yeah, okay. So that's okay. We're live now.
Okay, we're live now. We thought we were recording, but we weren't recording. We're live now.
That's okay. Because we're fucking live now.
We're live.
So, all right. So,
I guess we have to start this all over now. We were having a conversation for a good half hour.
That's good.
And it's done. So I guess we're starting from the beginning.
Yeah, we'll start over.
Okay.
Justin.
I'm Justin.
My name's Mike.
Mike, we're meeting again for like the 15th time now.
This is State of the Giants.
State of the Giants.
This whole podcast thing has been hilarious from the get-go, like 5 or 6 weeks ago.
Right. We started. So
definitely a month into
Mike and I have been kind of circling around each other, sniffing each other out, talking about a podcast.
Yep.
We've been talking about this for like 3 years now.
We have.
We started actually podcasting like an audio podcast, and you know, we may still go ahead with it, but this is maybe faster, easier.
Yeah.
So we did that, and now we're trying this live, and we're here today, and we're trying this live again for the second time because we've done this once already, and it'll be even better this time.
Yeah, we're learning. So
yes,
this is State of the Giants. Mm-hmm. State of
the Giants.
That's right. Giants. Okay, so a little bit about me. I've been in IT for 10 years. IT pro, not dev. Difference. Dev folks, I love you. What's your hook with technology?
I am an instructional technologist / instructional designer. I take information and I break it up into bite-sized chunks so that adult learners in corporate settings can actually do what they're supposed to do. And I have been doing this in various forms about a decade now.
Yes, and you are the resident Google advocate.
I am a Google dude.
You are the ombudsman for Google?
The ombudsman for Google.
I am the resident Apple. I have iOS, iPad. It's in a Switch.
Although we've been talking, and maybe that's going to change, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So we've been doing this for
about 5 weeks now.
About 5 weeks. You take the Google perspective. I'm a Microsoft fanboy.
And I like Microsoft too, and we'll talk about that later.
Right. So anyway, this is our weekly take or so. Maybe sooner, maybe later.
Maybe later,
maybe
sooner or later.
Sooner or later. Just go down to the vending machine and get some now and thens or whatever.
I can't believe we did all that and we weren't recording, dude.
Okay. You got to roll with it. You really do. You have to roll with it. So we like to cover our opinion on how we see things on State of the Giants from the average common guy's perspective.
Not the average common guy, like more techie average common guys.
I would say for the technically inclined. If you're Ben Morse and you're out there, this is for you.
Where is the any key?
Where is the any key? This is for the podcast that I was on like several years ago. The one thing when HTC had a big kerfluffle about having around Christmas. I don't know. Anyway, I'll put it out later. This is being recorded anyway. So, State of the Giants. Well, we're gonna do our weekly rundown of Apple, Microsoft, and Google. Maybe as we get further on, we'll do this or that. So, for Apple, everybody knows that the Spring Forward
event just happened. Yeah.
Real quick rundown, and we'll cover them piecemeal or whatever as we get into it. MacBook. The MacBook.
Yes, the MacBook, not the MacBook Air, but a 12-inch MacBook has been released.
Right, the MacBook happened.
Space gray and champagne, which is gold.
Right, and the basically all iOS colors, whatever. They're very much in that groove. What else? You said the trackpad. You want to tell?
Yeah, so it uses a force trackpad, which it's kind of like the haptic kind of pop technology on Android. If you ever use an Android phone, you touch it, and when you hit one of the keys, you feel it's like pop. It's kind of like that. So like instead of the right click is gone, the force creates the right click. And that is funny because when I used to work with folks, I would tell them, no matter hitting the trackpad really hard isn't going to do anything. With the MacBook, it does.
It does.
The other big thing, and we talked about this, is it is super thin. Like it's thinner than even the MacBook Air, which is really thin.
Right.
And then it has what Mike and I have called the cloaca, which is
port.
Yes, the bird port. So
The
for those
MacBook
of you who
bird
know
port.
about birds, birds have one hole that they reproduce through, which they birth
Defecate.
through, which they defecate through, and which they urinate through.
Right.
And
So
this has one port. It's a USB Type-C port, which is a newer technology. It can do video, it can do data, and it can do devices, and it can do power. But there's only one port. So there's one port that does data, power, connectivity to other devices, and what's the other thing? I forgot.
Oh, the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack.
Just
like
yeah,
an iPhone
and
and an iPad.
yeah. So basically, what this thing
It's an
is,
iPad with a
it's an
keyboard.
iPad with a keyboard
No
that
touchscreen.
doesn't do touch,
No
and
touch.
that's what got me. I figured, you know what, if we're
No
basically
touch. No touch.
because it uses a Core M processor, which is more
Right.
powerful than say a Atom or the A9 chip, that A9X chip that the iPad uses,
Right.
but less powerful than an i3 or an i5 or an i7.
Well,
So is it single core or is it dual core?
No,
because
it-
all of the new
I wanna-
i series, they're all quad cores,
Let's say
aren't they?
dual core.
It's
Anytime
dual core,
Intel
yeah,
comes
right.
out with a new architecture, it's always dual core. So in the strata of CPU hierarchy,
Mm-hmm.
wake up.
I think we're probably disturbing my wife. I'm gonna close the door.
So, so we'll wait.
Love you, babe. I think she's asleep because she's got to work tomorrow.
So in the strata of CPU hierarchy, you have your Intel Atom right there, whatever, and then you have your i3, or maybe right there, i5, i7, whatever,
Yes.
off the thing. The Broadwell is sitting somewhere between, I would argue, between i3 and as high as i5, right there.
Mhm.
So it's going to be it's very powerful, leagues powerful more than your Atom, but it's definitely powerful. And the joking term that I saw and I read, and that you alluded to, that I didn't pay attention to when the event was happening, is it is a Facebook computer, like a glorified. So the Chromebook, if you don't know what
It's a
Chromebook
Chromebook.
Right,
It's
so-
an Apple Chromebook.
So if you don't know what a Chromebook is basically a stripped down machine, virtually no local storage. It is basically your Chrome basically a web browser on a computing laptop.
It's a terminal that uses Chrome.
With a keyboard and a trackpad and a screen, and that's all she wrote. And typically these things come with cellular connectivity, usually with T-Mobile or whatever, with the free whatever. Doesn't matter. It has cellular typically and internet and Wi-Fi connect. That's it. You don't. If you want to do anything fancy beyond that, forget it. It's not. It has a place. But anyway, people were joking that this is just a big fancy, big expensive Facebook computer,
Right?
Or XYZ, whatever your favorite internet streaming service.
You're gonna Twitter, you're gonna
platform is.
Facebook, you're gonna
Right.
email, but you're not gonna do a whole lot else.
Right,
You're gonna play Bejeweled.
Right. But the audacity of and this is typical Apple doing a one port. And one thing I'm not clear on yet is the port.
Mhm.
Can it do power? Can it power it? And can it also do data I/O at the same time?
Well, because I think
Meaning, can you? Because remember, if you want to have this machine, you don't want to have the Retina. It is a Retina display. Most people, if they're sitting at home or whatever, in an office, they want to connect it to a monitor. Okay, so you connect your monitor, and I don't care who you are out there. You usually have like a USB dongle or whatever for your Bluetooth.
you need Apple special like $80 connector so that you can hook up more than one thing.
Your First Blood dipshit Logitech RF thing, and I use it every day. I use the Logitech their stupid proprietary dongle instead of Bluetooth like I should, but whatever. So they have one of those things in there, typically.
Yeah.
And then you have your video that you hook up, whatever. Well, what happens when you need to charge it? Can it charge it and also do your video and also?
And I don't know enough about USB-C on a technical level to know that.
This is and the.
But I dare say the person who's going to be using this,
but I would say probably
is never going to have to worry about that because they're mainly going to have it hooked up and they're going to be checking Facebook and they're going to be hanging out the local artisanal coffee shop, drinking the single origin Kenyan beans.
Oh, he's killing me. He's
stabbing
the Apple guy over here.
And sitting there or hanging out at the local nano brewery, drinking the brewer's like triple hopped, double New Zealand hop IPA, and just sitting there looking cool with their all gold MacBook.
All gold everything.
All gold everything. Don't believe me, just watch.
Yeah. So anyway, this is the MacBook Bird port with the one fantastic port. Moving on.
And the thing, we can't move on. This is not a $600 device.
No.
This is not an $800. This is a 12. The cheap model is 1,299 US dollars. That's right. For what you could start getting to a MacBook Pro for, or you could get a pretty awesome MacBook Air for, you are paying $1,299 United States dollars for what's essentially a Chromebook.
Right.
And what makes me angry about this is and we're going to talk about the Chromebook.
I'm not angry. I'm just not buying it.
We're going to talk about the Chromebook Pixel later. Sure. When the Chromebook Pixel came out at $1,299 US dollars, everyone's like, oh, this is a waste. Now they're releasing this thing, which is basically an Apple Chromebook in functionality, charging the same amount of money. And there are some people who are like, this is awesome. Although I will say, to the credit of the average tech person on the internet, there's been a lot of backlash against this. I saw a tweet shortly after it was announced where the person was basically like, F Apple. And looking through their back tweets, they've been a person who has
been a solid fan.
Has been a solid fan of Apple. And I will tell you, I will preface this that at one point, 10 years ago, I was a diehard Apple. If you want to talk about Apple as a cult, I was like the most indoctrinated cultist in Apple. If we go back about 10 to 11 years, I was the most diehard Apple cultist. In Japan, when I was working there, I started a Apple users group, and like everyone was annoyed with me by how much I was enthusiastic about Apple. I still have an Apple sticker on my car, even though I'm not even much of an Apple guy anymore. Like, it's in the bones. But I am very disappointed with Apple with this new MacBook, and I think that this is extreme arrogance on the part of Apple, but it's probably going to work out for them.
Right.
So, yeah.
So we'll cover this because we got a couple more. Let's cover the Apple TV real quick.
Apple TV. So new Apple TV.
HBO Go exclusive.
Same Apple TV, but it's now $69 instead.
Much more affordable for grandma and grandpa. If they're in Walmart.
But the killer app, so to speak, is that HBO Now, which is HBO's new a la carte, like standalone service, will be exclusive to Apple. Now, there's a service now called HBO Go. This is different because HBO Go requires you to have an actual HBO cable subscription. This is a la carte. This is like Netflix. You could pay your $14.99 a month without having cable. This is your cable cutter thing. Your cord cutter thing, right.
Just like me and like a lot of other folks who may or may not get their wares or their media.
You said wares. That was so 90s, dude. Wares. Wow. With a Z.
I've been in the game for a long time. With C. Very true. And we have one viewer. Thank you. You're awesome. Whoever you are.
It's probably my wife.
It's probably my mom.
Or your mom. Or our mom.
Right.
It's our mom.
Not going to explain that. You're going to have to hang on and tune in for why.
Realistically, that person watching this knows exactly how we're related because they're a relative of ours.
So anyway, going back to the Apple thing, a lot of folks now in this day and age, they do 3 steps. They do their VPN. If they're smart, they do a VPN, and then from that VPN,
especially for Cardinals fans who live outside of St. Louis,
the blackout.
Yeah.
So,
or who live in St. Louis, they're doing their VPN and their MLB, going into MLB.com, or MLB Live,
a different thing, but very valid. They do their VPN and then they do their favorite torrent site,
right?
Or they have no affiliation or loyalty to Kick-Ass Torrents or Pirate Bay or whatever,
TV Torrents,
or Demonoid or whatever. Then they
Tokyo Tosho,
right? Or they do Google, whatever they're Googling, they do whatever torrent. Whatever, and then they just click on the first link, and then it goes to their torrent client, and then boom, they download it, and then that's it.
Right.
That's it. That's your illegal. Guess what?
And that's how Game of Thrones is being watched by millions of people across the world.
And what I just described is somebody who is smart and aware of their IP address and all that other stuff. Really, it's a 2-step process, minus the first part that I said, which is the VPN part, or the proxy or a Tor or whatever. But if you're torrenting, you're not doing Tor. Tor is too slow. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. This is good from the standpoint of getting more people to pay for the content that HBO creates.
Right.
This is good. This is a good thing. I am definitely going to try it out. I don't know if I'm going to be a long-term subscriber, but I don't care about the HBO stuff, like the Game of Thrones and all that. I care from the aspect of like catching up. But I don't care like going forward, and it's ringed in, circled in to where they're gonna pencil it in with the new Game of Thrones episode,
right?
The
next season, yeah.
Thank you. The next series.
So it's gonna coincide with the next season of the series.
Well, they also have the movies and
the on-demand episodes,
and also the all-time greatest show ever. Deadwood.
Deadwood. Yes.
So,
which I need to watch because I've heard it's awesome, and I'm into spaghetti westerns, and I'm all into my western Lego here. So yeah,
indeed. All right, so that's the Apple TV. It's dropping in price.
Right.
Apple exclusive launch partner HBO Go. Let's move on to because we beat the crap out of the other two.
Yes.
Well, we feel like it. Maybe you don't.
Well, it's because we've done this already. Whatever. Deja vu.
Whatever, you learn.
Right.
Apple Watch is coming up. So I will say this from the standpoint of already being bought into the platform.
Right.
There's there's 3 aspects to the Apple Watch. There is the third-party extensions. There's the fitness aspect, and all the heart rate and all that good stuff. And then there's also the iMessage, first tier platform, which could technically be folded into the fitness thing that I just said. But anyway, the fitness thing alone got me excited about this 6 months ago when they announced it at WWDC. Now, having said that, the only one that I would even consider buying, the only one that even would land in my mind that I care about, Apple screwed the pooch, I think, in 2 aspects. Not from the high end, because nobody cares. Nobody gives a crap about the gold one. Nobody can afford that. You and me.
See, that's the thing.
Nobody can afford
no one that you or I know can afford it, but there are plenty of people who can.
Here's the thing. I don't even want to spend any time discussing it. I don't care.
Okay, yeah, of course.
I don't care. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect me. The price is ridiculous. It's like car territory. It's like it is your low level car territory. Like, nobody cares about that.
It's for people who live on the other side of the economic singularity, where like $10,000, $17,000 is not a big deal.
I don't even want to give it.
Okay, right.
So the 2 that would me and you or somebody out there that would potentially,
mostly you, because I don't own an Apple phone, so I would never even think about it.
Valid. But the 2 tiers that came out were the Sport and the what's the Steel?
It's the Steel one. It's the Apple. It's not the Watch edition, because the Watch edition is the
whatever.
The all gold, everything.
Anyway, the steel one is
watch.
$350. That's for the 38 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And the bigger one is
the 42. So it's basically
$50 more, $400.
What I love about it is they call it
millimeter.
the 38 millimeter and then the 42 millimeter, but other companies would call it women's watch, men's watch.
And you know what? You know what? Because this is a tech product,
mm-hmm.
and because this is 2015,
mm-hmm.
if I were in the market to buy one, and we'll get to that later,
mm-hmm.
but if I was going to buy this,
mm-hmm.
I don't care about the bigger watch. I would buy the 38 millimeter in my enlightened.
But you're not a
phase.
manly Midwestern He-Man though, who doesn't want to be seen with the smaller watch, the women's watch.
Right, but you know what? Overall, like as it comes down to it, like another $50, and that's just the tip of the iceberg because you're actually paying more money for
mm-hmm.
for the band. I saw Leo Laporte cover the event
mm-hmm.
and his post coverage or whatever when I watched it later.
Mm-hmm.
They were making fun of the gold edition and
yeah.
how ridiculously expensive it is,
mm-hmm.
and the fact that like the base model comes with a rubber band, like the elasto band. You don't even get like premium leather or metal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get any of that. And to me, like the next one up is the steel,
mm-hmm.
the same color as the aluminum, whatever. And that's where you're actually paying for the band. So you're paying $150 to hundreds of dollars more for the band alone, whatever. To me, like that's a turnoff to me. But having said that, though, the concept of as a technology as it pushes everybody forward, I'm on board with like what it can tell you of what it can do and this and that. That's cool, but like I gotta say, like up until like recently, like I've been on board with Apple and everything else with relating to a watch, and I'm not convinced that
mm-hmm.
it is a market yet. But I think that the two big things for me, if we could end cap it or whatever, I don't think that we have anything else to cover for that. Other than the research kit, which is great that open sources. I will say this about, well, I'll say this in closing, but in the research kit, as far as it goes,
mm-hmm.
I would trust Apple much more. What the research kit does, let me back up.
Mm-hmm.
It allows you to opt in to a medical test that's going on
mm-hmm.
or research that may or may not be conducted.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows you to volunteer whatever the iPhone is recording or the watch is recording
mm-hmm.
to those efforts. Like if it's breast cancer or
right.
diabetes or whatever other thing. They said that they flat out said we open source this.
Mm-hmm.
Apple they're not new to open sourcing something. Like they're both on both sides of the end. They both steal, so to speak, or take,
mm-hmm.
and then they also contribute back. This would be their contribute back. If anybody, when it comes to medical data, I was happy to see just nothing but universities.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see big corporate names in there because once the big corporate like GlaxoSmithKline, I'm out.
But here's the thing, and I know this. When you see a university behind the university,
I know that there's money behind the university, but more
it's not just money. It's
government money.
No, it's not just government money though.
It's government money.
Here's the thing, though, Mike, and this is another podcast or another, but I understand how much corporate money is in universities. When you go to the University of Missouri and you see the August A. Bush Center of Agriculture, you realize. So, yeah, your information is maybe going to the University of Boston, but maybe there's a prominent Boston located company that's behind it. So I don't trust, and I'm not saying Google or Microsoft or anyone else would be any better, but I know that information is going to some corporation somewhere down the line. That's the nature of.
They flat out said,
yeah.
They flat out said, and we all know that anybody can be a liar. They flat out said, we do not use this data. Apple does not use this data whatsoever.
Right.
I will say of the three companies, who would I trust my private data to more than anybody else? Apple, Google, or Microsoft, and that's Apple, bar none. Period. I'll end on that. Aside from that, we have the new MacBook.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I thought it was.
If you had $1,300 today, right now, to buy
mm-hmm.
the new MacBook with its one bird port. Hilarious. What was it called? What's the actual bird thing called?
I have to open up my phone again. It is called a cloaca.
Cloaca. Okay. You have one bird port cloaca MacBook for $1,300, or XPS 13, the Dell, which is the Broadwell. All these things that I'm mentioning are the same computing platform, Broadwell. Or the one that's not is the Surface Pro 3. Which would if you had $1,300 in your pocket to spend, XPS 13, Surface Pro 3 equivalent, or
why are you even asking me this question? You know what the answer is not.
I know the answer is not, but they don't know.
So I would not purchase a MacBook.
Surprising.
Right now, I'm very much in like my buddy Scott, if he's watching this, we talked about this on Facebook because I was talking about the XPS 13. I was super high on the XPS 13. We'll talk about this more when we get to Microsoft, but I am more than likely in the next couple of weeks going to be purchasing a Surface Pro 3.
Excellent.
But I would never buy a this new MacBook.
Right.
Literally, if I'm like that dude, that old Vietnam War picture, you've got a gun in my head, I'm not.
Pull the trigger.
You're pulling the trigger because I'm not buying a MacBook.
Right. So
but here's the thing. Me 7 years ago would have been like, oh my God, I would have bought that MacBook. Right.
Yeah.
Dumb guy working in Japan with more money than common sense. Absolutely. I would have bought that MacBook. I would be rocking that MacBook
and I'm with you. I would not buy this new MacBook at all. I will be in the market shortly in the next 6 to 9 months.
This is something, again, I'm going to go there. This is for your dude with your 1890s mustache and your ZZ Top beard, and you're wearing your skinny jeans, and you're hanging out the local hipster coffee shop or at the Nano Brewery, and you want to look cool with your gold MacBook.
Right.
No offense to people who that's actually who you are, because I'm sure, hopefully the one person who's watching this is not that person.
Right. So anyway. Yeah. No, I think they're normals like us.
Right,
So this...
We love you, one viewer.
Yes, we do. So aside from your stuff all backwards, it's backwards from what I'm used to. So I know that
it's like the southern hemisphere where the toilet's flushing counterclockwise.
I'm referring to how he has everyone set up. To each his own. No judgment calls, because it works best for
you. It's what was default. I'm lazy.
So
all right.
Going from Apple to Microsoft.
So
do you want to lead in with this?
So Microsoft is now, they've launched the Office 2016 Mac preview, because so when I owned a Mac, I used Microsoft Office. I got like a $10 copy from my university where I got Office for like $10. But it was behind, and Macs have traditionally lagged behind. And there's probably a lot of different reasons, but the Mac versions tend to lag behind, and this is aimed at bringing the Mac version to parity with the Windows version.
Right. So this is, I have not personally messed with this, but I've looked and viewed. This is like a really quick thing.
Yeah, really quick.
But this is like basically how you can get your Office for free on your Mac and test it out. I have seen that it is more. It fixes what was wrong with 2013, and it puts to rest that issue. Having said that, though, this is very curious that they are doing a modern day interpretation of this. Poor Mac folks. If you are relying upon Office at all on Macs, you poor bastards. I'm sorry.
But if they're using Office 365,
not even with Office.
No, really?
No, it's been stuck at 2011. Office for Mac 2011. You poor bastards.
Even the web interface?
the web interface is always changing, but I'm talking about the native Mac clients. You poor bastards.
Yeah.
This is finally they're doing something to fix this. And when I do have the occasion to boogie in on a Mac, I don't even bother with. I would prefer to use the Mail app, which is atrocious since like Mavericks. It's been a nightmare. Apple, they could make a good solid Mail app, but they have made a retarded client for a long time that goofs up for iMac.
Could we not use the R word?
Yeah, no,
okay.
That's fair point. It makes the idiot. They make an idiot portion. Anyway, moving on from that.
Right.
It's pretty self-sufficient news. Then the bigger thing that I saw this week was that Microsoft plans to infuse. They've had the Windows 10 beta out for a long time, and now they're going to throw that on Xbox and make that the basis. So for Xbox One, it has 3 platforms: a hypervisor, which is basically virtual machine infrastructure, and it runs Windows 8 virtualized, a custom version of it, and Xbox OS custom. So it runs 3. So they're basically saying we are going to update Windows 8 portion to Windows 10. This is all good. I've been running the technical preview for a long time,
and I'm going to start running it soon.
I would be curious
on my desktop machine, and then once I get the Surface Pro, I'm going to run it on the desktop machine mainly, and then maybe because the Surface Pro is going to have less available memory, if I like it, maybe I'll run it on there later.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm curious to see what Windows 10 is like.
Yeah. So it's been pretty good. The only thing that
Did Microsoft ever explain why they skipped 9 and moved on to 10?
There's something out there somewhere, but
okay, all right.
But it's basically just fresh thing to get over 8 and the debacle that it was media.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
But the 10, the only thing that bothers me about it right now at the moment is the fact that you have your search bar and you have your start menu, and everybody and their brother is used to hitting the Windows key, typing in whatever.
Search, yeah.
That's like your search and whatever your program in one thing.
Right.
Right now they got it separated. To me, that's really, really annoying. You wouldn't believe how annoying that is to me, but it is a technical preview, so you can't really judge it too much. But this is good. I'm excited for what this means for Xbox and what it means for their Universal Apps initiative, where they said that the one app you write once, run anywhere. It's going to be your Office or your Word or your whatever on your mobile, Windows Mobile, and whatever. They also had a thing where they're loosening their Windows Store to pump up their apps and whatnot, where they're allowing you to do a web app in the Windows Store. And they're doing that because nobody's developing for the Windows Store. It's like silent. It's like
Windows Store is kind of that's stillborn. It's not going to happen.
Even though they're first to market to where you can have one app and you can write it one time for Windows Mobile, for a Windows tablet, and for a Windows desktop, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Anyway, that's pretty quick. This is pretty cool. And they did that at GDC, I think. Yeah, they did. So like that leads us on. Do you have anything else with Microsoft?
No.
I like Microsoft, but
I like it. I'm getting ready to purchase a Surface,
and that speaks a lot. And we'll cover that whenever you do that. You can do a special review on that or whatever.
Yeah, so it's gonna happen probably within the next month. I'm gonna be purchasing a Surface Pro. So I was looking strongly at the new Dell XPS 13, which is their ultra thin kind of like. It's the true MacBook Air killer. Like that term's been used a lot. And usually it's always before the device is released, they're like, oh, this is the MacBook Air killer. Then after it's released, there's like, well, but this is the first device that after it's been released, people are like, no, this is really a solid, possibly better alternative to the MacBook Air. and it's definitely better than this new MacBook. So if Dell wants to be like, buy our XPS 13 instead of this new MacBook, there's no competition. It's a far superior machine. I went to the local Microsoft store and played with it the other day. I liked it. The XPS 13, I liked it. It was nice, but they also had the Surface, and I played around with it a little bit more. I'm like, you know what? I think ultimately, even though it's a little bit more expensive, because I showed Mike, I sent him a picture of my kind of math of which was more economical, and the XPS 13 wins out every time. But
sure,
the other thing is I own an iPad. It's the last piece of Apple machinery that I own. It's an iPad 3. It was the first Retina iPad. It is long in the tooth, and I'm looking to maybe move on. And I'm thinking, you know what? This could be my tablet solution because I'm not going to use it as a tablet all the time, and my laptop. We're recording on my desktop, which is a great desktop. Even now, even it's almost 3 years later, but sometimes I want to be away from outside of the house, or even just away from my office and do some things, like some real things, not just mobile stuff. So it's looking very much like an XPS, or not an XPS 13, but a Surface Pro 3 is in my future in the next month. So
yeah,
we'll be talking about that in the next couple weeks, next month, I think. Yeah.
So you'll be a one happy guy.
Absolutely.
I'm still waiting for the XPS 13 is cool, but like for me, I bought a Dell Inspiron.
The 11, yeah.
And
that thing is pretty cool.
3147 Atom processor, Pentium.
Is that an Atom?
Yeah, that's.
I thought that was like a desktop.
No, technically it's an Atom, but they brand it as Pentium. But it's a quad core. I threw an SSD in there, and I can upgrade the RAM to 8 gigs.
Wow, I thought that was like had like a Core i processor.
The next level up, which is like $150 or whatever, is like the i3, right?
Okay, I assumed that was like an i3 or something. Yeah.
But the watts that it consumes is like 7.5 minimum. And the battery life that I would get with just what it is, which is like 5 watts or something like that, it's like remarkably less. Whatever. I might be screwing that up, but that's okay. Having said that, though, moving on to I think that's all the Microsoft things that we have.
Right.
I just want to say I am waiting for. What would make me pull the trigger on the new Dell or the Microsoft whatever would be the. I'm not even that groove of like Surface Pro, which is surprising to me. Like when you come down to it, it's a very good decision. But I'm waiting for the XPS 12 refresh if they ever do. Man, I've been waiting. It potentially would be if they made a third generation.
Now that
if they made a third
Apple has made this 12-inch MacBook, we may see Google make, or not Apple, Google or Apple.
One of
Dell.
Those big companies.
Now that we have seen Apple make a 12-inch MacBook, we may see Dell make a response to that, and we may see a new XPS 12.
Right. I hope so. Having said that, though, that's that's pure speculation. That's what I want to see.
That's why I said May. Yeah.
Right. That May. So moving on, then we go to Google. The biggest thing. Let me see the next one. One. Did I do the same one twice? No, I didn't. Okay, so we'll end with the wireless. So thank you so patiently. So since we're talking about hardware and this and that, and the MacBook Birdport,
right?
The MacBook Birdport. We'll go to the MacBook. The Chromebook Pixel.
Right, Chromebook Pixel 2, the Samus, as it's called internally.
Yeah. So this Pixel is it's basically a refresh.
Yes.
The old one was getting long in the tooth, as you said before, with your iPad.
But not really, because it was still pretty nicely spec. One big thing is, like, obviously this runs Chrome OS, which means that you're going to need to have an internet connection to do most things. But one big difference is this is much more square and a little bit larger than this new ultra-thin MacBook, but It also has USB-C, but it has 2 USB-C ports in addition to a couple of USB 3 ports. So it's a little bit more porty.
Right, and don't get me wrong, when I was harping on the one port thing, the USB Type-C is a great addition. It's 10 gigs bi-directional, I believe.
They need some USB 13 or USB 3 ports, though.
It's technically
at least one.
Right, it's USB 3.1, which ups the spec. Great all around. My issue with the MacBook isn't that it not the connector, the interface.
It's there's just one port. If it was just one USB 3 port or one USB 2, because remember the original MacBook Air only had a single USB 2 port, and everyone was like, "This is BS." What are you looking at?
Excuse me. Sorry, I was checking my email. Sorry. Okay, so anyway, the thing that's cool about the Pixel that they get right, the cool thing as a nerd with USB-C, Type-C, you can actually power from this port. It has one on each side, meaning that you can take the charging cable and you can plug it on either side. Doesn't matter. That's the nice thing that comes with Type-C. I'm down with that, but Apple screwed up with just having one port. And I think that showed that they're like on the edges of their giantness. With like, I don't think they quite get whatever. They could have like 10 failures or 100 failures for the next 5 years. They're still going to make more money than God, so long as they don't screw the pooch on the iPhone.
Right.
That's their moneymaker. But with this Chromebook is cool. I think Google gets it with the 2 ports. And it's also got, I think, 1 or 2 other just regular USB ports.
It has their USB 3 ports. It has like 2 more USB 3 ports, and then of course it has its power adapter and its the 3.5-inch headphone jack. Right.
So this is cool. Only comes with 64 gigs of storage.
But the thing is, it's a Chromebook. If you're buying a Chromebook, you're expecting to mainly be using Google Drive, but it also has a micro SD slot or SD slot. So if you just had to have local data, you could go buy like 128, 256 gig SD card and pop it in there. But no one's buying a Chromebook for local storage.
I don't.
And what this is not about this now. This is about the future. This is not about what Chrome OS is now. It's about what Chrome OS will be in 2 to 5 years.
And this is, I don't know if this is the regular consumer in me part talking, or if this is just the regular IT pro engineer in me. If Apple in one port doesn't make sense, this ultra expensive device and Chromebook makes even less sense. Like I will give them credit, very small credit.
It's less expensive than Apple and their ridiculous one port.
But if you talk about a tailor-made
cloaca machine,
right, cloaca machine,
cloaca.
Yeah, if you talk about a machine that was engineered for cheapness. Chromebook.
Right, but here's the thing, though. If you look at the majority, this is the only expensive Chromebook out there. This is a reference device. This is a spec device. This is for devs, and it's for 2 audiences. It's for devs. Actually, it's for 3 audiences. It's for devs. We'll say 2. It's for devs, and it's for extremely wealthy or dumb enthusiasts.
Right.
So the only people who should be buying the last Chromebook Pixel this are developers who are planning on raising the Chrome OS to something bigger, and for really wealthy and dumb enthusiasts. Like I could see, let's say
Google does not make this.
Who has
average everyday bread and butter folks?
The person I see having this is,
and they make this for the.
So we talk. You and I talked last week, not here, but we're talking about how LA school district is now switching over to Chromebooks. Like the CIO or CTO who's like in charge of all the tech, or like the person who's the head of operations or whatever for technology at LA Unified School District, they've got one of these. but they maybe have one of these. But like, or whoever's the highest functional person that actually does day-to-day stuff, they've got one of these.
Right.
But everyone else is using a Toshiba Chromebook, or they're using one of the Samsung Chromebooks, and then the kids, of course, are just using whatever's cheap.
Right.
Whatever is cheapest that day.
Right.
But this is for like the person, if you talk about this being used functionally, this is for the highest level person who's developing things and is in charge of stuff.
Right.
And that's what this is for.
And I think this is also not only for
and
the
it's
devs,
it's $400 cheaper or $500 cheaper than the last version of this thing.
This is Google dipping their toe in the water of not just low end but high end.
High end.
If they can do it, this is their
high end hardware,
and they can do it. You know, like Google's not afraid to experiment.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, though, it's a cool device. I would never, ever, ever, ever buy one of these at all.
If I won the Powerball tomorrow, I wouldn't buy one of these.
That's just me being a dick, and I just don't.
And I like Chrome as an OS, but I would.
All right, that's cool.
What are you doing, dude?
Nothing.
It's because you clicked here to do the whole scroll thing. You're good now.
All right. So the next one is basically Google's wireless. Keep going.
Yeah, Google's wireless plan has one catch, and this we're talking about how Google is setting up a. Is this Google setting up a? Google setting up their own like wireless service, like for making calls and stuff.
So yes, so this is Google doing an MVNO, which is a mobile virtual network operator.
Right. Yeah,
and
so
this
it's kind of like
similar to your Tings or to your Walmart.
Or for those, Walmart Family Mobile. So
that run. Yeah, they have their bullshit.
They license Spectrum. They license Spectrum
they don't even license
bigger
Spectrum. They just license the bandwidth or whatever from the thing. What they do that, and then they
Boost Mobile, Virgin Mobile, same thing.
Exactly, and then they run off the backbone. The guys who actually run the data is Sprint, T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, whatever. Like this is their front. The front end is Google, and depending upon who you are and what you do, you can save a lot of money if you are you only want to pay for what you use, and it's only like a small flat line that you want, and you want it to be even lower or whatever. Google. The caveat to this is that Google's jumping in the waters, but Nexus only, and they're also banking off
Nexus 6 only, isn't it?
Nexus and higher. I don't know if it's 6 only. What does it say? I just said Nexus only.
Right.
I would say 5 at least and higher.
Which I would be out of luck because I've got a Nexus 4.
I would say if it says Nexus.
Or my old phone was a Nexus 4, yeah.
Right. If it's a phone, it's Nexus, it's good. Whatever. But it's Nexus, whatever, higher and only. And it's only that, but it's also going to be banking on the Wi-Fi.
Right.
This is cool from the standpoint of it's Google trying to push the market forward, whatever. This would have had a lot more impact if they would have done it on the last Spectrum auction and actually bought Spectrum. They originally made the Block C for Verizon and other folks almost 10 years ago now when they bought Spectrum. Google threw in their hat and said, we're going to buy this auction, but we want these concessions. And it actually forced Verizon and everybody else that was part of the Block C, the 700 megahertz so-and-so spectrum, to push that standard. So you couldn't have certain rules on there, like you couldn't block tethering, you couldn't block devices and some other stuff. Now carriers can wiggle their way around it all they want. But anyway, this is good. Would you ever get a Nexus device and you got a 1+1? Looking forward in the future, would you get if you're Google, you double down on Google and you do that, would this interest you at all?
It would depend on what the next Nexus device looked like. I'm really happy with 1+1, and if they do a 1+1 or 1+2 or 1+3, I would maybe look at that because I like their philosophy. But I own a Nexus 4. If I feel like the Nexus 4 and Nexus 5, there was like a logical kind of progression. The Nexus 6, they went in a kind of a different direction. They tried to go premium and compete with the iPhone, and I didn't necessarily like that. And they tried to do a phone that I thought that was a little bit big.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind that the OnePlus One, this is a 5.5-inch screen. The iPhone 4S.
Hold up again. See.
Is that 4S?
5S.
5S, yeah. So yeah,
tiny.
Right.
Tiny.
So yeah.
Anyway,
yeah. So it would depend on what Google goes towards, but it feels like Google is moving towards trying to not compete with their OEMs because their OEMs were threatened by their whole relationship with Motorola and everything, and that's something totally different. That's
Microsoft and jump in with Surface Pro.
Right.
3.
So yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So the final tie-in. You have anything else to add to this guy?
No.
I think that pretty much covers it this week.
Yep.
Did you see any hardware or any Kickstarters that you liked or that you wanted to put out there?
Well, we talked about the Pebble time.
That surprised the crap.
Pebble is in a good, interesting position. I won't necessarily good, but interesting position. They are a platform agnostic smartwatch. You could use one with a Google phone or a Apple iOS phone.
Yeah.
And so they're putting themselves in an interesting position. I remember you were all Apple Watch until I showed you the Google time, and you were like, hey.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, Mike, you were the diehard iOS guy until you saw the HTC M9, yeah. Well, and then you also saw the Pebble time, and things are kind of changing now for you.
I gotta say, this is typical me. Like I typically do.
That's so Mike.
A little bit of a time with iOS and a little bit of a time with Android, and up until like a couple weeks ago, I was like, screw Google.
Shout out to our one viewer who's still watching this. I wonder who. I want to find out. I'm going to ask on Facebook later who this one person is watching this is.
So the bottom line at the M9, they make a very compelling device. It looks like the form factor wise, it looks good. And as I was looking for Apple iWatch alternatives, and I say iOS because it's from the same point of sale. I'm still always going to have an iOS device, because of the security aspect. When I want to get in touch with somebody, it's more secure and I trust it more.
Mm-hmm.
But the Pebble took me by surprise. I didn't think it was as big of a deal as it is, but it's compelling.
Well, the Pebble I think was one of the highest gross. The original Pebble was one of the highest grossing projects on Kickstarter of all time. I think now the highest grossing project is
it's still them because they recently came back.
The highest grossing one is that card game that the Oatmeal made about cats.
It was, but the Pebble
it was Ouya, which was like the Android console. Then it became Ouya. That was the name of the Android console.
Let's be honest, it doesn't matter how you pronounce it.
And then it was the Oatmeal's cat game because the internet was powered by cats, and it may very well become the Pebble time.
Right. So it's cool. Like we'll see in the coming weeks or whatever. If my thing is that I don't trust 18 or HTC.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're gonna screw the pooch.
You mean with the phone?
Yes.
Really?
Not from like what you can. If my name Mike, go to the website, go to HTC's website, buy the phone right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would be happy. What I mean is T-Mobile. When it comes to the carrier, it always falls down. I talked to you specifically about the golden one and this and that, and my impressions of it. I want specific one of two things, and I'm afraid that they're going to screw it up, and it's going to come to T-Mobile, and it's going to be the space gray one. And if it's a space, usually they only get one option. If you go to the store now and you buy the M8, the only one you can get is a space gray.
Really?
That's it. That's my fear. If my fear now, I don't know. Maybe I'll feel differently, and maybe I can get over the way that the color is or whatever. But
that's kind of superficial, don't you think?
it is. But you know what? It's also my money buying it.
Right.
It's my money buying it. I'm not going to buy something I don't want. So having said that, though, it gives me there's still a lot of great things that I really like about the HTC M9.
Right.
The gold color, the camera, how quick it took the picture or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this from the standpoint of test driving an M8 in the store or whatever. That speed was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And the Sense UI is nothing like what I played with so many years ago with the Thunderbolt. The Thunderbolt was a disaster, and it like made you want to root it. The other thing is that you can root it legally with HTC, so there's a lot of pluses there that make me want. I want the M9. I'm not gonna lie, but I want it to be specific. I want it to be the quality of the build quality is like you said. You said it was the Mercedes-Benz of
Android.
whatever.
Like of all Android phones, it has the best build quality. When I felt an M9, even an M7, I was like, wow, this build quality is really nice.
Yeah, the thing that I'm just worried about, that my fear is that will happen is that the M9 will come to T-Mobile and it'll be the carrier screwing it up by getting the wrong color one or not giving me a choice. Whatever. It's gonna be a while before I make a decision. I'm pretty happy with my 5S. You know, at the end of the day,
yeah,
it takes and makes phone calls.
Yep.
And serves my media needs.
Yep.
The only thing that falls down at that where I was in the groove of iOS at is the watch.
Mm-hmm.
Supports the watch, obviously.
Right.
And the Apple Pay.
But here's the thing: if you're going to go with a Pebble Time, it doesn't make a difference where you go. If you're using an iPhone 5S today and you move to HTC M9 tomorrow, you're still going to be with these watch. And I think that's a good market-wise.
Yeah.
Pebble's in a good position that, you know, if I just bought the new $10,000 iWatch, or Apple Watch, maybe I don't want to make a change. Or if I just bought or I just bought a Moto 360, I'm like, maybe I don't want to make a change. But if I've got that Pebble Time, it's not that big a deal. Right.
No, and the Pebble Time Steel, it's a very fascinating device. I'll throw some show notes in there of what we talked about thus far. But I think we're wrapping up.
I think we're about done.
Long into the stick.
So yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to cover? Or
no. Hopefully I'm going to be getting this Surface Pro 3 sooner than later, and I'll be happy to talk about it. So yeah.
That's cool. I told you recently that I was down with the NVIDIA.
Right, the NVIDIA Shield tablet. Yeah, and the console.
I don't know. We'll see. It comes out in May. I'm not getting it right away. I'm gonna wait for all the unwashed masses to get it.
Right.
And the Shield tablet. That's cool. Like as we
the
go.
The tablet's out already, isn't it?
No, it is. Oh. It is. But from the standpoint of what it can do with Twitch and live streaming, as we get further down the road.
So yeah.
All right. This has been Mike.
And I'm Justin.
All right.
State of the Giants.
State of the Giants. All right. Have fun, guys.
Peace.
We'll see you next week. Have fun. We'll see ya later.